Welcome back to Crystal Clear. I'm ARTWITHKODA, and with Season 6 of Steven Universe on the way, the show has a completely clean slate. With the original storyline that Rebecca Sugar wrote wrapped up, what lies ahead for this series can be fun, innovative, and a change of pace. While we may be stuck to some things like the Steven perspective, we're not necessarily at a disadvantage. There are so many things the show can do, especially with an impressive number of gems likely living on Earth, with the addition of the newly healed, uncorrupted gems, and Steven making allies of Homeworld, who, as I speculated in a prior video, may view Earth as a Homeworld hub, a place to come and interact with humans and really learn more about the new Pink Diamonds culture. What I really want the most out of these upcoming episodes are adventures that take advantage of this new cast and spark that old feeling that Steven Universe gave when it first began. Yes, we have story arcs, but we're also interested in seeing these characters interact with one another, mixing gems with townies, while also still having episodes that focus on lore, fleshing out Gemkind as a whole. So today, I'm going to propose 5 episode ideas, 5 Steven Universe episodes you need. By the end, you're going to be wishing these were on your screen right now. And a heads up, if you follow me on Twitter, you may have already seen some of these ideas at ARTWITHKODA. Number 1. A Jasper episode. Alright, listen, Jasper's uncorrupted. She's probably going to feel very lost and confused. After all, her diamond was also her mortal enemy. Yeah, that's rough. But I like to imagine Jasper will get a redemption arc. Rebecca Sugar seems all for it, Kimberly Brooks seems all for it, it's just a matter of it happening. Now when it comes to Jasper's redemption, something I'm most intrigued by is the idea of her actually interacting with the townies. How is she going to treat fellow human beings? Well, that takes us to this first episode. Here's the basic premise. Jasper tries to interact with the Beach City citizens, but can't quite get a grasp on how to treat them. She doesn't quite, get it? Think of like how Peridot pushed Greg off of the ceiling in Log Date, but it's the big buff Cheeto Puff, and she's 10 times as lethal. Imagine she's at the boardwalk, she's trying to have a good time, and then she breaks Renato's leg. Yeah, that's kind of yikes. So Amethyst remarks something along the lines of, "Man, I wish we could just take Jasper through a human crash course." To which Steven goes, "Human crash course? Amethyst, that's it!" And the two take Jasper to the human zoo in deep space, which now is treated as more of a resort for the Zoomans, as opposed to more or less forcing them to live on rails. Deciding for them who to be with, the zoo now instills free will. The Zoomans have choices. The Zoomans are now a lot more, well, human. This is where Jasper comes in, as she works there for a day alongside the other Amethyst in an attempt to understand and treat humans better. And of course, hilarity would ensue. This would allow for a lot of development in a lot of different places. Not only would it flash out Jasper's character more at a point in her arc where assumably she'd be willing to change and that she would want to change, but we would also get to see the zoo, see how it's evolving now that the secret's out about Rose Quartz and Pink Diamond. And now that Steven has a bit more control over it, not only would we follow up with all the Zoomans, but with the Amethyst as well, and get Jasper to interact with them. She would probably scoff and think, "Ha, these miserable off-color quartz soldiers." But then she would realize, wait, I got horns on my head. Am I really any better than they are? It incorporates older location, lends itself well to comedy, and allows for development of multiple characters. Plus, any episode of Holly Blue Agate would be a good time. Number 2. Renato teams up with a gem? Alright, hear me out here. What's something the Steven Universe fandom loves? Cosplays! Who is a character we know is heavy into fandoms? Who would probably go to cons? Well, Renato. So the episode would begin with Renato showing up to Steven's house, or Steven's on the boardwalk and he encounters Renato, who is decked out in a cosplay for a con. But it's not of the best quality. He clearly tried his best, but he would definitely get flagged for it online. But Steven's not the only one who sees his cosplay, as Steven happens to be with Bismuth, who essentially just looks at Renato and gets the impression, "Sweetie, you've got it all wrong." And Bismuth creates actual armor and weapons for Renato's cosplay to be authentic. And this is where things horribly go wrong. Yeah, having anime-accurate cosplay would probably go to Renato's head. I don't think that would surprise anybody. But this takes us to the climax of the episode. I feel like when speculating this antagonist, a really good fit would be Homeworld Gems gems who resist change, and thus they create their own faction. This is something a lot of fans thought would be a great idea. So let's just say this is the case. I would imagine they would attack Beach City on the regular with sentries, robots. So these rebel homeworld gems send sentries to Beach City. And by the way everything's set up, you think Renato is going to save the day with his newfound arsenal. Oh my god, he's going to put his skills to use. But he gets horribly injured and Steven and the crystal gems save the day as usual. And Renato learns a lesson. He needs to stay in his lane, and just because he has great cosplay doesn't mean he has to run the show. Well, I mean, if you want to count actual armor as cosplay. This would illustrate that the gems and townies are closer now. Not to mention being hilarious. I think Bismuth and Renato would have a lot of great back and forth chemistry. I mean, we saw Renato mansplain armor to Bismuth in Reunited. At least, that's what they said he was doing on the podcast. So I would love to see an evolution of that friendship. Renato going from totally clueless to, well, decked out. That Bismuth is aware he does not know what he's talking about. So she actually decides to help him out. Plus, I just really miss the gems actually interacting with tiny shenanigans and vice versa. Number 3, Emerald versus Lars again? That's right, Emerald returns and shows up to Beach City with a new ship, one that she claims is even faster than the Sun Incinerator, which of course, in this story, Lars and the off-colors still have. She pretty much outright challenges Lars. Yeah, she's still kinda bitter from the events of Lars of the Stars, and they end up competing in a race, an intergalactic street race, trying to prove what ship is the fastest and who's the better pilot. This would have an insane race scene. Think Beach City Drift, but on a completely different level throughout the cosmos. They race through different planets. They bust out lasers. It turns into essentially a death match, but yet it's all in good competitive fun. Emerald and Lars' on-screen chemistry that they had in Lars of the Stars would continue here. They bounce off one another. You really get a feel that they're frenemies. I've always enjoyed Lars episodes. I'd love to see more of Emerald, and hey, if we don't have rebel homeworld factions, or if Emerald just isn't a part of it, this would be a great way to introduce her as a recurring character that really is more of a friend than an enemy. By the end of the episode, she would probably lose, but smile and go, hey, we should race more sometime, to which Lars agrees. Fun. But you don't want just fun, you want lore, and that takes us to number 4. Now, in my last Crystal Clear, I did speculate, what will the diamonds do now? What is Homeworld's new purpose? And while I personally think the new purpose would be making things better, giving life to planets instead of taking lives, I mean, you guys can just check out that Crystal Clear if you haven't already. I think this question alone would lead to a flashback episode. Essentially, we open up with Steven on Homeworld visiting the diamonds, who of course are happy to see him. They're ecstatic. Steven's here, Steven's here. Hello, Starlight. Steven asks the diamonds, how's Era 3 going? And the diamonds are pretty much stuck. They had this purpose to colonize planets and spread gemkind throughout the galaxy. But why? This takes us to a flashback, where we see just how the diamonds came into creation, how they rose into power, and see the very beginning of Homeworld. Yes, diamond origins! I think this would just give us answers to a lot of questions. I think we all probably wondered at some point how the diamonds got to the point where they are, and we would still get to learn more about them despite the fact they're no longer antagonists. Not to mention, flashbacks are probably the only way we're still gonna get a menacing white diamond, or yellow diamond, or blue diamond. God, I miss them! Last but not least, number 5. Alright, how do you top diamond origins? I'm gonna be honest, you probably can't, but we can try. Coach Sunstone! And yes, this would be a spiritual successor to Coach Steven. We have all these uncorrupted gems, and while they're happy to be free and no longer in the state of animals, well, they're nervous, they're kind of scared. Where do they go from here? How do they blend into society? What do they do all day? It's not just the diamonds, it's not just Homeworld. These gems who want to stay on Earth want to find their purpose as well. But it's not all doom and gloom, as Steven and Garnet fuse into Sunstone, who more or less becomes a life coach for all these gems. We have Sunstone giving advice, breaking the fourth wall, having a grand old time, but the problem is, it kind of becomes too much. Sunstone really wants to help, and believe all these gems need to find their purpose right now in an instant, that they can figure it out for them, when in reality, they do kind of need to figure it out for themselves. They appreciate the confidence, they appreciate the advice, but they don't want this overly optimistic 90s mascot robot, shouting in their face, "Here's what you need to do!" And it'll teach both Steven and Garnet that, yeah, the core crystal gems have their friends back, and I'm sure they're eager to help, just like I'm sure Steven is eager to help, but you can only do so much before you're essentially becoming overprotective or trying to control your friends. It may not be the intention, but it's the result. Or, I don't know, you can think of a better moral. I just really like the idea of Sunstone being a life coach, and I feel like all of these new gems would be the perfect opportunity to have such a scenario. Again, it's a fun episode, it's not really plot driven, but it's a result of the overarching story. It would lead to plenty of fun interactions, and I mean, come on, it's Sunstone. But what do you guys think? Out of these 5 episode pitches, which one piques your interest the most? Which one do you think you need to see right here, right now? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, or tweet your thoughts at Roundtable Vids, and for more of my own silly episode ideas, you can find me at ARTWITHKODA. And if you want to make another video of these, I can do that. We're also on Instagram. Special thanks to ARTWITHKODA for creating an awesome thumbnail. For more of his wonderful art, you can find him on Tumblr and Instagram at ARTWITHKODA, and subscribe to his YouTube channel. Link down below in the description. Help the Roundtable grow by either becoming a member of this channel or supporting us on Patreon. Link to everything in the description. If you enjoyed this video, please throw it a like and subscribe to the Roundtable so you never miss any great Steven content. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have an awesome day. ARTWITHKODA out.